The Secret Beneath the Waves. Part 1. The Dream Vacation. I'm Sophie, and last summer, I took a trip that changed my life forever. I'd been saving for years to visit the Florida Keys, dreaming of turquoise waves and coral reefs. I was 26, working as a graphic designer in Chicago, and I needed a break from deadlines and city noise. So I booked a week-long vacation in Key West, complete with snorkeling, beach lounging, and a scuba diving lesson. I'd never dived before, but the idea of exploring the ocean felt like an adventure straight out of a movie. My first few days were perfect. I rented a tiny beachfront cottage, spent mornings sipping coffee by the shore, and afternoons snorkeling in shallow waters. The reefs were alive with fish, bright parrotfish, darting angelfish, even a sea turtle gliding by. I felt free, like nothing could touch me. On my third day, I signed up for a beginner scuba diving trip with the local dive shop, Coral Adventures. The instructor, Mike, was a laid-back guy with a sun-bleached beard who promised we'd see a hidden reef most tourists never visit. I was nervous but thrilled, imagining myself swimming through an underwater wonderland. That night, as I packed my swimsuit and sunscreen, I noticed something odd. The cottage had a small window facing the sea, and in the moonlight, I saw a faint glow under the water, far out in the bay. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat, then faded. I blinked, thinking it was a boat or a buoy, but the ocean was dark and still. I shook it off as jet lag and went to bed, dreaming of the dive ahead. Part 2. The Dive. The next morning, I joined a group of 6 divers on Mike's boat, bouncing over the waves toward the reef. The other divers were chatty, a couple from Texas, a solo traveler from Miami, but I was quiet, focused on the ocean stretching endless around us. Mike gave us a safety briefing. "Stay close, check your oxygen, don't touch the coral." He said the reef, called Whispering Cay, was special, with caves and tunnels formed thousands of years ago. "It's like an underwater cathedral," he said, grinning. We suited up, strapped on our tanks, and splashed into the water. The ocean was warm, the visibility crystal clear. As we descended, the reef came into view, towering coral formations, schools of fish shimmering like jewels. I followed Mike, my breathing loud in my ears, feeling weightless. We swam through a narrow tunnel, the walls glowing with tiny bioluminescent creatures. It was magical, like floating through a dream. Then I saw it. A faint pulse of light, just like the glow I'd seen from my cottage. It came from deeper in the reef, where the tunnel opened into a wider cave. I pointed it out to Mike, but he shook his head, signaling to stay on course. Curiosity got the better of me. I lagged behind, peering into the cave. The light pulsed again, brighter, almost calling me. I swam closer, just a few feet, and saw something strange. A shape in the water, like a shadow but solid, humanoid, hovering near the cave's entrance. My heart raced. I blinked and it was gone. I rejoined the group, shaken, telling myself it was a trick of the light. Part 3. The Echo. Back on the boat, I couldn't stop thinking about that shape. The other divers were buzzing about the reef, but I felt uneasy, like I'd seen something I wasn't supposed to. I asked Mike about the cave and the light. He frowned, saying, "There's no bioluminescence in that part of the reef. You probably saw a fish reflecting your flashlight." His answer felt off too quick, but I didn't push it. That night at the cottage, I couldn't sleep. The glow was back in the bay, stronger, pulsing in a rhythm that made my skin crawl. I closed the curtains, but I swear I heard a sound like a low hum coming from the water. The next day, I went to the local library, a quaint building filled with books on Key West history. I wanted to know more about Whispering Cay. I found an old journal from a 19th century fisherman, tucked in the archives. It described a cursed reef where divers vanished, drawn to a strange light. The locals called it the Siren's Glow, believing it was tied to an ancient presence that lured people into the caves. My stomach churned as I read about a young woman, Eliza, who disappeared diving there in the 1920s. Her last journal entry mentioned a song under the water, pulling her deeper. I started noticing things in the cottage. My dive gear, neatly packed, was scattered across the floor when I woke up. The mirror in the bathroom fogged up, even when I hadn't showered, with faint streaks that looked like fingers. At night, the hum grew louder, almost like a voice, whispering words I couldn't make out. I called my sister, Emma, back in Chicago, and told her everything. She begged me to come home, but I couldn't leave, not yet. I needed to know what I'd seen. Part 4. The Twist. I couldn't let it go. Against every instinct screaming at me to leave, I booked a private dive with Mike, insisting we explore the cave at Whispering Cay. He was reluctant, his usual easygoing vibe replaced by a tight jaw, but he agreed, warning me to stay close and watch my oxygen. As we descended, the ocean felt different, colder, heavier, like it was holding its breath. The reef was still stunning, but the fish darted away from the cave, leaving an eerie silence. The light was there, pulsing brighter, tugging at me like a magnet. Mike signaled to turn back, his eyes wide behind his mask, but I shook my head and swam into the cave, my flashlight cutting through the dark. The water inside was unnaturally still, the walls smooth as if carved by hand. The light came from a crevice where a small object glowed. A pendant, no bigger than a coin, carved with intricate symbols that seemed to shift as I stared. It floated, suspended in the water, its light pulsing in time with my heartbeat. I reached for it, entranced, and then I saw her. A woman, her skin pale as moonlight, her long hair drifting like seaweed. Her eyes glowed, mirroring the pendant's light, and her lips parted in a silent smile. A song filled my mind, not through my ears but inside me, beautiful yet terrifying, promising peace if I stayed. My oxygen gauge beeped, warning me I was running low, but my body wouldn't move. I was drowning in that song, my vision blurring, when Mike grabbed my arm, yanking me out of the cave. We surfaced, gasping, the boat rocking above us. On land, Mike was furious, his face red as he shouted about the risks. He admitted he'd seen the light before but kept quiet, scared of sounding unhinged. He told me about the pendant, a local legend tied to a shipwreck centuries old, said to carry a curse that trapped souls. I nodded, too shaken to speak, but I didn't tell him the truth. In that frantic moment, I'd grabbed the pendant, slipping it into my dive belt before he pulled me away. Back at the cottage, I hid it in my suitcase, planning to study it later. That night, the glow in the bay was gone. The whispers stopped. The mirror stayed clear. I thought I'd escaped. Here's what haunts me. Back in Chicago, I took the pendant to a historian friend, Dr. Patel, who studies ancient artifacts. She said it was pre-Columbian, its symbols linked to rituals for binding spirits. The pendant had a tiny compartment, sealed tight, and she refused to open it, her hands trembling as she handed it back. Some doors shouldn't be unlocked, she said. I locked it in a safe in my apartment, but I can't let it go. At night, when it's quiet, I hear that song again, faint, weaving through my dreams, calling my name. I've started diving again, not for fun but to listen, to understand. I tell myself I'm in control, but sometimes I wake up with my dive gear laid out, as if I packed it in my sleep. I don't know if I brought something back, or if part of me is still down there, caught in the glow.